А зараз я хочу запросити до слова дуже особливого гостя, регіонального директора ICF Мелкона Філіса. Malcolm, you're welcome. You will be our main speaker right now. І також нагадую, що є український переклад. Just to let know that we have Ukrainian interpretation at the same time. Malcolm, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Reina. Good morning, everybody. I trust that you're all well. And thank you for the invitation, Maria, also to be here. It's been a while since I've seen you, since Istanbul, so it's good to see you again. Today is the start of International Coaching Week. And International Coaching Week from ICF, it's every year in May. We celebrate professional coaching. We bring to the fore what the value of coaching is to everybody. And I think all of us as coaches on the call here will know the value and the impact that we make when it comes to coaching. So today is not just a celebration of coaching as a whole and what it means, but from my personal perspective, it's a celebration of you as a coach, as the work that you do and the impact that you make in this. Within Ukraine is not in the easiest of situations. And we're going to cover a few of these things today. So I really just want to extend my warmest gratitude to each and every coach in Ukraine that is still aligned to ICF. I've got a few slides that I'm going to share with us throughout for our presentation. So I just want to make sure that I'm able to share it. So I think, Yarina, if you can maybe give me some admin rights to share, that would be great. Thank you. Okay. If I do speak too fast, Ms. Tatiana, Maria, Irina, just wave, then I know that's like
Malcolm,
I'm going
would
too
you be
fast.
so kind to speak a little bit slower because we have interpreter at the same time
There we
working?
go.
Thank you.
Perfect. That you need to do that because when I get into a rhythm, I do too much. So let's share this and let's go to presentation mode. Okay. All right. So we can see the presentation on the screen, right? That's all good. Perfect. So today we are touching on, and thank you for the theme. The theme is the era of change, coaching through a lens of times. And when we look at coaching, ICF last year celebrated 30 years of existence of ICF. It's not 30 years of the existence of coaching, 30 years when ICF started. We look at coaching back in 1995 compared to 2026. It has evolved over a period of time. And so today we're going to look primarily with source data from our ICF Global Coaching Study, our consumer study. There's also the McKinsey's reports. There's the World Economic Forum reports that we're going to cover and kind of look at just from a data-informed presentation that we want to make today. And so we're going to look at where we are at. We're going to start with a very short introduction of just about coaching and the landscape of coaching. We're also going to cover the trends of coaching. There's about 3 or 4 that we're going to do. And then the future of coaching and a little spotlight on Ukraine. And from what I remember, from ever since the war broke out in Ukraine, the chapter in Ukraine has been doing a lot of work to support the community. And I mean, there was the Ignite project. So I'm really appreciative from that. And then a closing thought. Hopefully we can do all of this within 20.35 seconds. 20 minutes and 35 seconds, we'll be able to do that. Okay. Yarina, is my pace okay now? Does the translator scope?
If you could slow down a little
A
bit,
little bit
thank
more.
you so much.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I will try my best. So thank you. Okay. So where we're standing today, we're literally standing in a moment of history where we call it's a hinge moment of history. And we all know what a hinge is. A hinge we've got at the back of the door that allows the door to go open and closed. And when we look at where we are at today, it's literally history swings open into a complete new era. We're actually looking at where the World Economic Forum has stated in their report that the global disruption is accelerating. Now, I was born in the 70s, and so that makes me very old. And when you look at that, how world was so predictable back then compared to super unpredictable day by day today. So things have shifted. And what the World Economic Forum in the report says, where the disruption is accelerating, is because of AI. And I think AI is part of our language, it's part of our way of working. Geopolitical tensions, I mean, which Ukraine is really not a stranger to. Workforce transformation, the way we work. We are now working from home. We're working in hybrid spaces. We also have a wide span of generations working together. We still have some baby boomers within our system, but we also got the alphas and the Gen Zs coming into the system. And that brings a different shape in terms of what the workforce looks like and how we relate to each other. There's also social change that happens within our space. And so coaching becomes a stabilizing force in this world of complexity where we are today. Coaching matters today. Why? When we look at what McKinsey is saying that leaders are now operating in adaptive systems, no longer predictable ones. When I started working in 1993, it was literally, I knew what today would bring. I knew what tomorrow would bring. In today's world, today is not what yesterday was. It is also not what yesterday we thought yesterday would be today. We're living in what we call a world of a polycrisis. We have multiple crises coming to us from different spectrums, from different, all hinging, coming together at once. And so coaching becomes that lighthouse amongst a sea storm, the one that's guiding the ship to safety. And coaching is helping us with that today. Coaching strengthens the leaders with the capabilities that they need most today. Sometimes we do a very quick knee-jerk reaction, and coaching is saying, take a step back. Let's reflect. Let's regulate. Let's think broader than where we are at this point in time. Let's think broader about my role or my department. Let me think broader about my home, but let me actually think about the community and the impact thereof. It also helps leaders to lead through ambiguity. Nothing is straightforward. Nothing is as clear as we think it was. So coaching is becoming essential and no longer optional. It is really helping us to ground ourselves in a time of crisis. This is not a time where we've got one crisis at a time. We've got 5 of them running at the same time. And coaching matters because it brings that stability for what we need. Just our last part of our introduction is just what does the global coaching landscape look like at the moment? And this is taken from the 2025 ICF Global Coaching Study. When we look at it, currently we have roughly about 122,000 coach practitioners worldwide. So those who identify themselves as coach practitioners, that is a 13% increase from 2023 study. We also see that the revenue increased quite substantially. In other words, individuals like yourself, also organizations that offer coaching services, the total revenue globally is 5.3 billion for the year, which is quite a substantial amount of revenue coming in. Then in a consumer awareness study, we find that about 73% of the respondents, now I won't say of the world, I will say of the respondents, those who responded to the survey, which was about 10,000, said that they had a level of awareness of coaching, right? So that's from some awareness to a lot of awareness. So now we can see that coaching, what does this data tell us? It tells us that coaching is becoming more mainstream and no longer a niche. In 1995, when ICF started, it was a niche. It was for the elect. It was for certain people. Now coaching is actually becoming quite mainstream in different avenues that we use it. So are you in the right career as a coach? I would say yes. But it's also about, am I doing the right thing when I am coaching? and when I am finding myself within the space of coaching. Our second section that we're going to cover is just a few trends that's happening at the moment. All of these trends are supported by the different sources that I mentioned earlier. ICF Global Coaching Study, the Consumer Coaching Study, some information from from McKinsey's report, World Economic Forum reports that comes out. So the first thing is coaching has become like the blueprint of an organization. And when we look at it so within ICF, we've got a coaching and organizations department who focuses about coaching cultures within organization. And the research has found that a lot of organizations, if we look at the Microsofts, the IBMs, they are integrating it as part of their leadership capability. So coaching has become part of the organizational infrastructure. It's no longer an intervention. I remember when I started, when I was in corporate, as an example, there was always this intervention when our team didn't do what they're supposed to do. So then they will bring somebody in to come and have an intervention with us. It's no longer that. And previously, I hated interventions. But this is now shifting from having intervention, which is reactive, to something that is proactive by building capability. They're integrating it into their leadership development, both from being coached, but also getting the skills of coaching as part of the leadership toolkit. Performance systems, and this is not foreign to me. About 15 years ago, when I was in HR in corporate, we taught every manager the GROW model. And we all know as coaches, GROW is your basis, right? Your goal, your reality, options, and the way forward. We taught them that for performance management and for talent management conversations. So we can see that leaders are being given the skills to have coaching conversations within the leadership skills, within the leadership style. And then also coaching drives culture transformation. If you're a coach and you work with an organization, and that organization is exactly the same 12 sessions in, then there's something wrong either with the coaching program or there's something wrong with the organization not being willing to. Because coaching is such a powerful tool that it actually shifts the organization's culture, even if it's a little bit. AI is really reshaping what coaching looks like today. And some of us are afraid of AI. AI is going to augment what we do. It helps us to expand access and scale. It helps us to save time and do things differently. And however you do that, I would encourage you, from an ICF perspective, we've appointed a director for AI, Susan Caesar. If you go onto our website, if you go onto our social media and to our YouTube channel, you will find quite a lot of interviews and articles and things relating to AI and coaching. But human connection still remains central. As much as AI can do much, they cannot get the human connection. And that is something that we need to work in. The future does not look AI versus the human, but AI plus the human. And how do we integrate and how we work together? When we look at Microsoft and IBM, they're giving us some indexes that shows us how leaders use AI for decision-making support and productivity. I use it for productivity. I'm being absolutely honest with you. I tell it what I wanted, but I'm very specific. It still needs to be me. And also from IBM, in terms of how the organization is adapting it into the leadership development processes. So AI is becoming part of it. We can't run away from it. It's evolving, but we can integrate it, but never lose sight that the human is still needed within this human touch. Something that we also saw in terms of our growth as coaching grows, the biggest growth really comes from the emerging markets, which is Eastern Europe, Africa, and Asia Pacific. Now, another very exciting example for Africa is in April, 25th of April, we launched the Malawi chapter in Africa. So that's going to be our sixth chapter in Africa. It took us about 2 years to get there. But they're starting stronger than some of the European chapters started way back. Normally, the European chapter started with 25 members. And I mean, Ukraine has got quite a nice size of membership now at the moment, which is great. In Malawi, we're actually starting with about 40 members. So you can see the base is even starting higher in terms of where we're at. So from an emerging market point of view, that's where the growth comes in. Coaching in the emerging market specifically is a developmental tool, not just a service. So what does that mean? Within the emerging markets, you got socioeconomic issues. Within the emerging markets, you got financial challenges. You got issues within the communities. You got issues within the work structures. And coaching is supporting those. And that adoption and support is helping them to create economic resilience, but also community resilience in terms of how they grow. There's also a need for specialization. There's an increased demand for it. Now, I think, Maria, you mentioned trauma. I heard trauma somewhere in your opening speech. Um, right. And the one thing I want to say thank you to some of our Ukrainian colleagues is being part of that white paper that we wrote about trauma and coaching in trauma in traumatic circumstances. So really, we appreciate the work that you do. Obviously, when it comes to trauma, we need to be able to draw the line where we need to draw it, right? If you are not a psychologist, that understand where your limitations are. We need to stay to our ethics as coaches as we continue to that. But we can see there's a need for these things that's happening. Systemic coaching, crisis leadership, and also digital transformation. The other thing on the first point there, credential expectations are rising. When we look at our 2025 global study, 73% of the coaches that replied said that their clients expect them to have a credential. When we look at the consumer awareness study, about 80% of clients and potential clients expect a coach to have a credential. It creates credibility. It sets that you understand the standards that you are working with. Can they trust you? And a credential gives you that. It's like having an accountant, but they're not a CPA. You know, you got a 50-50 chance. They can be good, but not necessarily so. Let's look at the future of coaching now. And we're going to quickly cover 5 major shifts that's kind of shaping the next decade. And when we look at shaping the next decade, you will see some of the evolution signs today already. So it won't be something where you say, Malcolm, this is so foreign to me, I don't even know. You will actually recognize how it's happening today. Coaching is becoming literally very important as a national development tool. It also, coaching is there for societal resilience. If you look at just what Ukraine was going through and is going through, it's a lot of things that we need to work on. Evidence-based coaching is increasing. I can't just say coaching works. The organization wants evidence. How does it work? Why does it work? And how does that work for us? And then when we look at coaching as a leadership baseline, connecting to some of our previous points, as part of your leadership capacity and capability, do you have some coaching skills? Whether even if it's only the basic grow model, but is coaching part of your leadership baseline? And something that the world has taught us now, and it really started with Ukraine, is cross-border coaching ecosystem. How do we support each other across the borders? How do we grow the coaching ecosystem? I'm sitting in Uganda today. I'm from South Africa, but I'm sitting in Uganda today speaking to all of you who might sit wherever you're sitting in the world, right? So cross-border is really, coaching is expanding. So the future of coaching is broader, deeper, and much more integrated than ever before. And so we can see that we can move forward in terms of how we move. So we're going to cover a few of these. Well, what have I done? Okay, is that normal screen? Okay. Cool. I did something, Irina, I've got no idea. But anyway, coaching as a national development tool. When we look at it, 2030 from now, just picture COVID to today. The way of work has changed. Your skills that you needed. Remember, prior to COVID, nobody even dreamed about Teams that much. Nobody dreamed about Zoom. Nobody dreamed about AI. But now we need to be reskilled, and this is just 2026. What about 2030, when there's even more evolution coming? There's more new generations coming into the workforce. So 59%, and this is according to the World Economic Forum, that says that 59% of workers will need reskilling by 2030. That is a lot of reskilling. When it comes to reskilling, it's not just teaching Malcolm a new skill. but it is helping him to reshape his mind as well. How does he respond to this new way of working that's coming in? And this is where coaches can hold that container. I'm not sure if I heard you right, Maria, but I think you mentioned something about a little boat or something. Yeah, that's what my translation app was saying. So a little boat where we keep them in, keep them safe, where they're able to do that, right? And then so we can see there's a big need for reskilling. Coaching strengthens the public sector capability. When we look at our public sector, our government, coaching really sent. In South Africa, for the longest of time, I've worked with the Department of Health in Cape Town. And that is working with doctors, nurses, and everybody to do with the hospital. And by the shift that they're making as leaders in the public sector, the better care they can take about the patients. So imagine that coming through the whole public sector. How much better will our life and decisions not be? There's also the leadership capacity becomes a national asset. Without the leadership capacity, nationally, we've got a liability. So let's create the assets. And I'm expecting and I'm knowing that you as a coach will play part of that. The second part is for societal resilience. Coaching becomes essential for any particular issue when there's crisis, displacement, and the reconstruction context. So the bridge that you're seeing there, you see, if you look closely, you see it's a bit fragmented, but it's trying to get together. So what we are trying to do as coaches, we are trying to rebuild the bridges. And what coaching helps communities with, and this can be a community where you stay, this can be the work community, even this coaching community that we are in. It creates a space for psychological safety, that container that we create. It creates a space for leadership renewal, and it creates a space for community rebuilding. Coaching provides an avenue that something else cannot, and that is giving you the time and space to be able to do that. One of my clients that I had back in the day, he was close to retirement, and he said, Malcolm, my only moment of peace and clarity is when I'm in my coaching session, because everything else is hustle. So let's create that container for our communities. We spoke about the evidence-based. And when we look at the Deloitte Human Capital Trends report, it highlights the need for the rise of data-informed leadership development. In other words, can I measure that Malcolm was here and now Malcolm is there? This was Malcolm's communication style here. This is Malcolm's communication style there. What is the impact? The impact, just not that it's changed, but his team is much more productive. X, Y, and Z is happening. So there's much more need. At ICF, we do all our researches. I know at least about 4 people that's currently doing the PhD on coaching in terms of different elements of coaching, so that there can be data-based evidence in terms of the value for coaching. And once we've got that data-based evidence, it strengthens the credibility and the measurable impact of our coaching. So that was some of the trends that's coming. I'm hoping that landed somewhere. You can see I tried to quote all our sources there. Last but not least, we come to a little spot on Ukraine. I promise you, and Maria and everybody in Ukraine knows I'm very supportive of the chapter and, the things that you've gone through. So coaching Ukraine is something that has happened, and this is during the very start of it. I know it was year 2. I think Alina was the president, and the chapter created a Ignite project to support. And they pulled in resources from all over. So that is something very much that has supported Ukraine. It brought strengthening and resilience, clarity and continuity. And then also it had wait, am I now? There we go. Yeah. So coaching Ukraine became the most powerful example of coaching in disruption, because there was a few components to this. It was not just about those being coached, but it was also about the coach itself. And disruption happened to everybody. So how do we manage ourselves through that disruption? And so really the Ukraine chapter has done a marvelous work in this regard. Just another point that I want to make, a few things, because we cannot go through this and not learn something. Okay, now my thing is stuck. Okay. let me blame the Uganda Wi-Fi for now. Let me go up quickly. Karina, what are you seeing now?
I can see different slides,
Ah,
right? You
different
just,
slides. There
yeah,
we
yeah,
go.
yeah.
So now we need to do that one.
Hmm.
That's the presentation mode now.
Perfect. It's perfect now. Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Thank you very much. Ah, there we go. All right. So nothing happens in isolation because when you do something in Ukraine, it impacts the world one way or another. It brings a contribution to the world. So, what does it bring? It brings an experience and expertise emerging from Ukraine, which is crisis leadership, which is adaptability, because life was not the same one day to the other. I remember when I started with the Ukraine chapter, Alexander was the president of the chapter, and we had our chats. And it was an amazing thing how the chapter needed to adapt based on the circumstances that came. That we learned, and that is what the world also saw. There's also the spirit of human resilience that was taught to us by the Ukrainian community to say, we are in a time of crisis, but in this time of crisis, we need to be resilient. There is a model and a way of working. And then the growing the cross-border collaboration. I mean, this was the first chapter where I heard that the support and either for supervision or that came from so many different places. It also taught us that together the global coaching community can support one another and help us through these very times of crisis. In closing, I want to say that coaching is one of the most powerful tools that will shape our future, but it cannot shape the future if you do not shape yourself. As a coach, as an ICF coach, what is your aspirations in terms of your credentials to make sure that we can produce the quality that we need? What is your aspirations in terms of giving back to the community and opening yourself up to new experiences? What is your challenge in terms of AI, adopting it and embracing it and using it and living aside to it and not away from it? The future looks bright, only as bright as we're going to make it. Thank you very much for your time and listening.
Thank you, Malcolm, so much for supporting Ukraine and for being a real contribution to Ukraine chapter. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Я дуже дякую Малкону за його вклад в українську спільноту, за його підтримку і за те, що показує нам, наскільки важливою є роль України також у розвитку світового коучингу. Дякую Малькольну, що нагадав, що коучинг – це не просто класна ніша, а це вже необхідність і це професія майбутнього, по суті. Дуже дякуємо вам. І ми переходимо тепер до наступної панелі. Зараз я